I shouldn't be here. In the last years, now for many years actually, this theme, I shouldn't, first of all, and then be here, second of all, with the alternative version, I shouldn't do this, but this is not really what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is mostly the I shouldn't be here. Now this thought came up again and again and again, and whenever this thought comes up, I think something is happening, and the something is happening is usually that my mind is quite alert, whereas I am just sitting here and I have to be somewhere where I actually then would not make the most use of my time. So I shouldn't be here is actually much less a physical constraint, a geographical constraint, but much more okay, my mind is working right now and I need to make use of the mind that is working right now, because there are so many things that I still want to do as long as I'm alive. So it is a mismatch between where I now am and what I could do right now. So as basically my mind over time is not always performing the same time, not the same time, but it's not always performing similarly. So if this is time, this might be a day, for example, then usually in the morning I am cognitively a little more able, and then sometimes it drops and so on and so forth, and it goes like this, and then it eventually goes down when I become tired. Somewhat obviously, but there are also other peaks and there are also other drops that I seem to somewhat be able to influence and somewhat be not able to influence. Now this theme of I shouldn't be here is something that comes up again and again in multiple scenarios. This came up, for example, when I need to use the word tried, because everything else is just probably does not make the most sense. When I tried to study, so I tried studying on a remote university, but they also offered courses where you could also attend. And so I was there, and after some time I basically catched on a little bit, and so then this feeling came up again. This feeling that I need to do something more useful with my time right now. So basically, with me, if I would be able to now, instead of sitting here and listening to this, I could already do my own thing, basically studying on my own. This would be more useful. But then there are other things, and these other things are mental illusions or mental distortions. And one of these mental distortions is then often, and this seems to be an occurring pattern, that this I shouldn't be here is based on the assumption that I extrapolate my current thinking, my current mind power, you could say, or my current focus over time. And this often is an illusion because it just happens to go down. And I also then cannot use the brain power I would have in this specific point in time for something else, because if I then go somewhere else, then I'm not constrained, for example, by being in a university and being in a classroom, but then I have to combat different incentive structures, such as being at home and being exposed to, for example, the internet. So this sometimes might be an illusion. It often might be an illusion. Nonetheless, this seems to be, now, a new sentence now. This here could also be seen as a vector. As a vector that is kind of, this thought is basically something in me that is currently not the me that is thinking, and that me that is thinking right now is pointing towards something else. A vector is, one could say, a very simplified function. So in this direction, for example, this is a vector that just has the up direction. This is a vector that just has this side direction. Now you could also make a vector that has both of these. So a vector that would consist out of both of these would look like this. So it would have this portion, but also this portion. Now a vector could also go in 3 dimensions, and it also could go in multiple dimensions. But once it points to a certain point, then the point is reached. No, the point is not necessarily reached, but if you then reach the point, then of course it could be that there is a path that is made out of multiple vectors. But vectors, of course, in this sense are only linear. So actually what this is pointing towards is a simplification of a function. So it could be that, for example, I need to go in just 3 dimensions, let's say, to the top of this hill, but the path upwards this hill leads somewhere left and right and so on and so forth, but I would not see this. And I shouldn't be here, in this regard, seems to be a very helpful vector that tells me whenever basically the opportunity cost of staying here is just too high.